Hello and welcome. My name's Yaw Owusu, and this is an exclusive insight into Codger's EP, Villain with a Conscience. I am lucky enough to have the esteemed, or part of the esteemed creative team behind the EP and the visuals, the whole rollout, the whole campaign, which kicked off in March 24 and kind of bookends with the release of all this content. So, I just thought it'd be interesting to get people together, to get you guys together, because essentially for all the praise the EP's had and the music and the visuals have had, it's you three that have kind of bolstered a lot of that. So we'll go with a little intro. So we'll start to my left.
Yeah, so it's myself, Codge in the building, the villain with the conscience. I don't talk no nonsense. You see it there? And obviously, you know what I do. I make hip hop. I make alternate rap. I make a bit of grime. And I am the spearhead of the Villain with the Conscience EP.
And then we'll go to my right.
Ooh.
It's for a trick. Get T thinking it's coming to him and then just flip it. Ollie.
Yeah, so I'm Ollie, music video director. We've worked since the beginning, pretty much.
Absolutely,
Day one, yeah. A reminder. Came on the project right from the start, and it's been a pleasure.
Who knew you'd be doing pretty much 75%?
I know,
of things,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It is crazy.
Literally none of us, though, was it?
Like first
or maybe
one.
I knew.
Yeah.
And then last but definitely not least.
My name is T. I'm a producer, bassist, songwriter, artist, creative director, all that sort of stuff. To be fair, it was the same. I feel like we did a session and it wasn't supposed to be the whole project.
Oh, absolutely,
then,
yeah.
But there we go.
And then you missed out musical director as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah, MD.
Oh, MD, yes.
So okay, well let's start at the beginning. Or actually start with the definition. Villain with a Conscience. What is it? What was it? You know, it's you're the author essentially. So tell us about it.
I guess obviously I talk a lot, right? So we'd have sort of conversations internally before the team was the team, and it's almost a way that I would refer to myself, and I see it in other people as well, other figures, which is why I refer to like your Malcolm X, your Muhammad Ali, your Che Guevara, those types of characters, because I think like, especially at the time of when I started constructing this music, is that like I was really going through this transition from being somebody who'd had to do all these things that I wasn't proud of to survive into somebody who's semi got the stuff together, do you know what I mean? And kind of...
I love the semi.
And sort of, you know, there's now a new pathway and sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel. But I just feel like that explained it perfectly.
And musically, you know, that's kind of the place you were in. But musically, how was this manifested on this project? And, you know, with the slight insight I have, it wasn't always Villain with a Conscience, was it?
No, it wasn't. It initially was This Is Not a Drill, which was a mishmash of songs. Some of them stayed on Villain with a Conscience, some of them ended up a part of the Reminder campaign, which is, so it was still This Is Not a Drill, but it was part of the Reminder. But I think one of the big sort of turning points was my first session with you, actually.
What a segue.
Because
What a segue. That is...
I do this. No, it wasn't planned. My first session with you, and we didn't really know each other. I'd seen you perform once, you'd seen me perform once. Was at the same Blackfest, wasn't it? And I guess it was the conversation we had as to where I was mentally, where I wanted to be spiritually.
He went all the way in like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, to be honest with you, but I'm not sure we even meant to, did we? It's just you kind of wanted to have a conversation, break the ice, wanted to get to know me, wanted to get to know what I wanted to work on. But as I say, I like to waffle. So by the time I was done kind of breaking the ice, he's like, right, go for a smoke, I need to work on some stuff. And yeah, that was sort of like the beginning of really, because that was Villain with a Conscience, wasn't it, that song? Which really cemented the direction, I would say.
That's amazing. So T, from your perspective, you drive 350 miles up here
Yeah.
to work with Codge.
Yeah.
You know, what was your first impressions of the music? Because you heard a little bit of what was being formed, and but you didn't know the man behind the
course.
music. So do you want to talk a little bit about your process? Because I think that's really interesting, but also your first impressions of Codge, the music, and where you thought you could have taken it.
I think the thing that and I think even the reason why we had so much conversation was because I felt like the music that I had heard wasn't as big of a person, or it wasn't as deep as the conversation that we had, if that makes sense, from before we even started working together. So as I got into the room and I started to kind of like feel out your kind of energy and presence and what you were about, it was just very much like there's a lot more here that I'm not actually getting from the music that I've heard. And so I think a lot of that first session process for me was like, okay, cool. What do I have to do to make sure that like on everybody's first impressions, they go, oh, this guy is deeper. And like, oh, like you can't miss it almost. And I think that was kind of like, as we even just started to chop it up, it was like, oh, this is very natural, but I'm also deep in that, like, there's a lot more to you and there's so many layers to you that like, we have to figure out how to get out in the music.
Translate that. Yeah.
So with Villain with a Conscience, how did you then approach that? So I know you're not A-B in it with some of the other records that were around at the time from Codge, but how did you go, okay, there's a deeper thing here. There's layers to his musicality. There's layers to the person. There's a personality here. How did you actually go, okay, well, how can I creatively manifest it? Was there any techniques that you were like, okay, this is going to allow me to get this out of him?
I think from before that we were in, I had a couple like ideas in my head in terms of like, oh, cool, I know that this is like a rap project, and I know that like what you want to do is kind of story tell. So like, what is my favorite of that? And I just kind of just on my journey up, I just listened to some stuff. I listened to like Rick Ross, some Jay-Z, and I was just like, okay, cool. This is what they do. But as we kind of started the conversation, I was like, all of it feels very real. And so in my head, that translates to like, well, I want to make the basis of this real instrument. So it all started with that like piano, bass, and in my head, it was like, well, number one, it's real. Number one, it's familiar. Everyone knows the sound of a piano. And number two, it's like grand. And so like, it sets the stage for you to do whatever you need to do and it be emotional. So like, that was my kind of like, I just want to have something real and powerful. And if there's that in the music, then it should make you freer to do what you need to do. Do you know what I mean? Hearing the emotion from you probably comes out a lot easier because the bed of that is there.
Love it. We're going to come to visual stuff shortly. I'm just going to stick a little bit long because everybody's interested in the black and white and this video. And, you know, there's loads of little Easter eggs between videos, especially as we get towards the end, looking back, etc. We'll get there. We will definitely get there. Even though we're short on time, but we will get there. But staying with the music, so you do that record, I believe the nights were getting darker. So I believe it's probably towards the end of 2023.
Yeah.
So, and then see you end up musically directing the other project. At the time, there was 6 records then. Villain with a Conscience was added. I know it ended up being 6, but I'm saying...
From This Is Not a Drill, you mean?
Yeah, what you had as the kind of basis.
Yeah, 6
so
or
then
7,
T, you ended up holding up in an Airbnb in Kensington. And then working on it in more depth. Can you talk about that? Because you're being presented with 1 record, well, 2 records because you've done product as well. You know, I'm talking about like fully produced, but like say, because then you went to London and done that other record. So say there's 2 records and then there's 5 other records which are done by different producers in different states, whatever. And then you're like, I've got a week now to make this feel like tangibly it goes together and it tells a story. And I'll come to you about the arc of the project in terms of narrative, but in terms of musicality, do you want to talk about that with a clock ticking? With Kodge coming in every day with his Inspector high-vis
Of course.
jacket on.
He came at like 5 o'clock every evening, so like I had to have some work done during the day. Absolutely. I'm a very like step-by-step, piece-by-piece person. So for me, it wasn't necessarily that like, oh my days, there's this whole mad project and like, what are we going to do? It was more like, cool, there's 5 songs here. And my, like, again, I think my goal from the jump has been the same. My goal was like, how do I, like, I can hear the bars that you're saying and I can hear how deep it is to you, but I'm not feeling that from the songs that I'm listening to. So how can I make sure that like what you're, like the kind of sonic plate that you're on is doing the thing that it's supposed to do. So like, I think it was literally just song by song. Okay, what are the things in this song that are like doing the right thing and what's not? And so
you had it like stemmed out essentially.
Absolutely. So it was like, I remember Love, Money, Drugs. I was like, oh, this sample's sick and this sample's doing the right thing, but the bass line just needs a little change. So let's just do that. And then as I've done that, I feel like the chorus is now moving. Great, cool, just piece by piece. I think the biggest one was probably Interlude.
I was going to say
yeah. And to be fair, I remember you coming and being like...
Yeah, because
the first response was the best thing ever.
That whole thing is very difficult for me going like, you know, I pour a lot of myself and my emotion and bravery into the music. And then like each song becomes like one of my children or a pet or, you know, something that you hold close to and you don't want to see it change, right? And so when you made Interlude, obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, but for me, it was clearly obvious. Like, I just couldn't get over the fact that you changed it.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think rather than even taking it in as new and going, right, these are the critics I've got for this new version of it, I was just like, why have you changed it? Do you know what I mean? But I think as an artist as well, though, like, that's done a lot for my growth because the emotion's always going to come through to me because I'm biased for my own music, right? So if you can hear something, and again, it's not always easy to hear, but it's like, you know, I know we're on the same team. I know it's out of a place of love. I know that if you manage to do what it is that you're saying, it's lacking, we'll all be in a better place, right? But it was still really difficult for me. And what's funny really is that like Interlude, what you did with it is now so beautiful. It's like it's perfect, isn't it? But I just couldn't wrap my head around it that first listen.
I remember with Interlude, as T tends to do sometimes, like send me little bits in work. And I remember that day, early in the day, you sent me a version and it was totally different than the version you ended up with at 6 p.m, which is crazy. And then the same with A Reminder.
Oh yeah, because
that was a bit harder, and that was the last one of that
Yeah.
batch. I think it was like last day type vibes. Could you go through each of those songs that you worked on, and just rehash what you'd done to them?
For sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, or if I say them, would that help?
Yeah, that would help.
A Romance Tale.
With A Romance Tale. To be fair, there wasn't that much with that one. That was just I just wanted some harder hitting drums. Like if we're gonna do this like boom bap hip hop thing, I want those drums to be smacking. That was mainly that. I think the sample was great.
And then DJ Toucan with the chorus, because they didn't have a chorus on, did they?
You're right. And then it was like
I forget we've been through all this. Honestly, I do.
Yeah, because it was we wanted scratching, but I could hear it in my head, but I was like, there's no way that this is like cut up and digitalized. I just need somebody here
to really do the role.
Yeah.
So we got him on and he killed it, to be fair. He came and he was like, oh, it's just like this. And I said, proper, absolute. That was that one, which was very strong.
Love, Money, Drugs, which we've touched on.
Yeah, so that was just, I think there was a bit of a structure stuff. It was the bass line that just kind of wanted to move.
You had an intro to it as well?
Oh, yeah, there was an intro.
T's vocally on the project in some interesting places.
Just hidden himself.
Because that wasn't on the original.
No, it wasn't.
And they just went straight in.
I can't even remember why I did that.
Just a touch though.
It was just
It just needed it, I think. And I think that's kind of what you said before we started unpacking each tune individually, is that you kind of just ran through each song with a fine-tooth comb and said, what is this missing? Why is it not giving me that feel? Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And then Interlude. Because Interlude was really basic and it worked wonderfully in its basic form, but you've transformed it.
Absolutely. Interlude was Interlude was a big one because that one, it was the main one where I was like, I hear you, but I don't hear you. In terms of like, I can hear what you're saying and I can hear how like crazy these bars are, but like, I'm not feeling it the way that I should be feeling it. Like, it's not making me want to like, damn, do you know what I mean? And so, again, I think it goes back to like, I just wanted to strip everything back and let's just go back to the piano and let's just make like a really nice kind of piano thing that like, even if you're not listening to the lyrics, you can feel it.
Because it was guitar-based first, wasn't it? With lots of reverb.
Yeah.
I remember.
But that was
Drumless
just,
as well.
yeah, I think that was the big thing. It was just like, I want to do even less, but make it more impactful.
And there's two things on that I really love. Is like how it kind of got to that. Was it the third verse technically, or really, where it almost like brightens. So it was like almost like when I listen to it, it's almost like it's dark. The light comes on, as you were saying, and then it goes bright, and there's hope. And you added vocal there again, and then obviously added Ni Maxine at the end, which was like not a straight feature. So in terms of what you added there to brighten up, please talk about that. But also how you used Ni Maxine, I think was quite interesting.
For sure. So I think it kind of comes back to the main theme of Villain with a Conscience. It was like, yeah, it's dark, but we understand what it is and we know what it is and we move accordingly. And so like, for me, it wasn't a case of like, cool, it's dark and this is the end. That's not the point of Villain, or what I've got from Villain. Is like, you have to go through some stuff, but then I think the lyrics are as simple as like, better days are coming. And I think that's just all it needed. And I was just like, well, I'm here, so let me just sing it. And I think it's funny because I hadn't actually worked with Ni before then. I don't know if you suggested her or I suggested her. I can't remember.
I think there's a couple of names, interestingly enough. And we just fought for that because you had that idea of it being like, you were like, it's a feature, but not a feature. It's chorus, not a chorus.
Yeah, and it was just like, again, it goes back to like, this isn't a traditional song anyway. So what does this thing need? And it just needs some sort of like, how do I even say it? But to be fair, it felt like what the visual was. It felt like I just need to sit down and put a vinyl on and have this thing playing and feel at peace and it feel okay.
But I think it makes the uplifting element of the song obvious. Do you know what I mean? And I think like when the Better Days Are Coming comes in, it's so subtle that it took me a couple of months to realise that the Better Days comes in before I even start speaking again. Like that's how subtle it is. It's just kind of planted in. But yeah, I think it worked perfectly.
And then and Ni's was a freestyle. Rumour has it wasn't like a really strongly written thing. No, she vibe basically.
It was a vibe. It was a vibe. I think I got
debunk it.
I think I got her to sing a couple times, and then we pieced together what it was gonna be. Because it was like, I appreciate that you're like a jazz vocalist, so do what you do, and then we'll find out what the thing is that makes it. And it was like, I think we. Not even like it took long, but I think we like took a little second to write exactly what it was supposed to be, because I didn't
from a few different freestyles.
Yeah,
because it had to be intention. It had to be some statement, didn't
absolutely.
it? That fit.
But I didn't want it to be on the nose. I didn't want it to be like, oh, it's gonna get brighter. Just wait for the morning. It wasn't that. Because what's the lyric? It's like, go little blackbird.
So funny. I used to think it was sing a little black boy.
I thought it was something like that. Oh, little leopard, I thought it was.
Wow, but that's not even close. At least I had the sounds right. Little leopard.
That's just taking me out. Leopard is crazy. But I wanted it to be something that was like, when you think about good vibes, what would you sing about? Without it being like, you're not, again, it's not like you're telling them what to do, but it's like, if I put on a vinyl, what would they be singing about? Do you know what I mean? And like, you might have a little song about a blackbird and that might be cute. So it was that sort of like, let's just piece it together so that it feels right without being like, we're in a better place now.
Yeah.
I love that. And then obviously Villain with a Conscience we talked about. If you only just get hitting a snippet, go back and listen to that explanation. A Reminder.
That was also a big one.
Which was a bit of work.
That one was a big one.
And a bit of work I was, as How did you feel about it? Because it made it put a chorus in for a start.
Yeah, I was resistant to it. I think we all know that. I was resistant to any changes. But what's funny is Sinterlude and
I
a
love that. He
reminder.
said he was resistant to any changes.
A reminder and Sinterlude, I guess the records that you change the most. But again, they're records that like changed me a lot as a human being, as an artist, because I guess when I wrote a reminder anyway, I just met a guitarist from a reggae band at a festival, and he sent me a couple of beats, and in the beat pack was the original reminder beat. And I'd never written on anything like that before, and I'd never rapped like that before. So that kind of started the elevation and the change of me anyway. And then when you changed it, I remember when you changed it, I like the change. I remember when you put the chorus in now, bang, 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 and I was like, no. I remember saying to my friends, no.
You know what I recall about that? The compromise, like, we'll have one without the chorus. But I also remember about a couple of weeks later, it was like, I like the one with the chorus.
I think it's because we've been performing it by then.
Yeah.
So I'm performing it and it feels right and people like it and thing. And I was like,
Okay, we'll hear you too.
the chorus was a nice touch.
So that's the EP. Kodge, before we start talking about visuals and visual representation, what's the arc? Because the songs, and you perform the song, the EP in full at Liverpool Sound City, the Tribe event, but there's an arc to it, isn't it? There's like a story arc.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I guess it's like just the literal, like, sort of coming from the darkness to the light, having that epiphany, but it's you know, it's not easy. It's not an easy pathway, right? There's a lot of bumps and bruises and scrapes that are earned along the way. But I think it almost tells a story about me maturing as a man, because when I was younger, I was far more intense, which may be hard to believe. Still
pretty intense.
Pretty intense.
I love that, looking at the two people who collaborate with him most going, what more than this?
But so it's like almost that sort of, and I wouldn't even say it's like a calm down, but it's like a maturation of like, there's a time to move, there's a time to be still, do you know what I mean? There's a time to be aggressive, there's a time, well, there's never really a time to be passive for me, but there's a time to sort of know me role and open my ears and close my mouth, do you know what I mean? And I'd say, yeah, just like that sort of, and then I guess there's also an element of like coming from grime to a more hip-hop, heartfelt storytelling space. It sort of does a bit of that as well.
Yeah, I think as a consumer of it, I'm like on this thing where I'm like, and I do think the order could have been different. You know, arguably you could have started with a reminder, which is here's my past, and then you move forward. But I did like the circular feel of it. Do you know what I mean? So I have that thing at the beginning. It's like we're finding out what makes you as a purely, not bestial, that's probably that, like just as a man. So you product of street, this is what I've been through, this is who I am. And then you get the home, this is where I come from, right? By the way, T, I think the interlude before Romance Taylor Home, Time to Go Home, touch of genius. We didn't talk about that, but anyway.
We didn't talk about product at all. Actually.
We didn't call. Yeah, I know. I feel like should we talk about product? We'll get to product. We will come back to products actually.
That was a funny one.
I hope we do. Because that went through very many iterations. I think it got quite upsetting at one point, didn't it?
It always gets upsetting.
It's the process.
But then you get to kind of the decadence of Love, Money, Drugs, and then you have the Sinterlude kind of the veil opening, and then Villain with a Conscience to me was always like, then you see yourself and accept what you are. You're not a villain. You're actually someone who feels and whatever. And then it's almost like you look back, which is the rematch. So to me, that's how I take it as a listener. And then obviously the big challenge comes, okay, we finished the music, Mike Caves mixed and mastered it, it's sounding beautiful, and it's like, we've got to make it stick out. So before we even get into like what was that, like once you finish the music, which I know for a creative is like, it's a lot of work, it's very emotional, you've been through this, tea's just come and chopped up your your dogs and
You
your
got to
cats
think
and
as
that.
well. I had the project.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
thought was
saying.
gonna be the
Yeah,
project.
yeah.
So then I had already felt that sense of accomplishment. Okay, this thing is finished or nearly finished, and then to have to go back to the drawing board and go like, okay, we're gonna put my ego to the side and go, we're gonna write another 4 tunes.
I don't think your ego was put aside. I think your ego was actually locked up.
I was swinging
against its will.
yeah.
It's like Venom when the Venom's trying to get off the cage.
yeah. No, but yeah, literally. So it was like, it was. It did. I think you can remember it. It took a lot out of me. It was a big push.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. The one that got away. So yeah, you get to the point where it's like, now we've got to represent it visually, and like, because I know there must have been trepidation with the music, even though you probably felt very proud. I'm sure at that point you were like, people haven't heard me like this. It's
I was still
different.
a grime MC.
Yeah.
Them times I was still a grime MC. I was writing this new stuff. I was accentuating in a different way. But I think even if you listen closely to the music, you can hear there's a certain level that I'm strained to because I'm doing something. I'm pushing myself beyond all boundaries. And yeah, I think like when we talk about visuals, I had a very limited amount of visuals out at that time. And the reason for that was I always wanted my visuals to be of a certain level. So I guess the pressure then of creating that visual world was coming, but also like once the project was finished, I wasn't necessarily ready to be new me for everyone else.
Developed you.
Yeah, developed me.
Yeah.
I was sort of anxious and a bit worried and what if it doesn't go to plan? And there's like a certain level of like, when you're doing what you're comfortable doing, whether it works or whether it doesn't work.
You know what's going to happen.
You know what's happening and
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it, right? So the idea of going into this new world and starting this new journey, and then it's like, well what if that doesn't work? Because at that time, I went, now we have conversations about this all the time, right? I'm 100% in on the developments and where we're going and it's who I am and it's who I want to be, right? But at this time, in my head, I'm still a grime MC. So it was like, and this is why I was so upset with the likes of a Sinterlude change in order because it's like, well, hang on a minute, there's this thing that I do that as far as I'm concerned, everyone loves. Do you get what I mean? And I love. But yeah.
Okay, and then we get to the visuals. Everybody.
What's with the black and white?
What's with the black and white? It's existed throughout the whole campaign. Naturally, it's the first point we start off with.
It's what people see first, isn't it? Straight away. I have my own takes on it. Like it conveys emotion, and it's raw, and it's sort of like it has like a nostalgic value. But I think one of you said it best. It's like it just immediately gives you like a classic feel, which is what we've tried to bring back, a classic element with the music, haven't we? As much as it's a new sound and we're trying to define our own, carve our own lane out and these things. There is this overwhelming classic feel of like a better day and age of music that runs through the sonics.
Yeah.
And so matching that up with the visual just made sense, I think, overall.
So Ollie, if people have been tuned in, they've been waiting for this. Like they've been saying, what's Ollie got to say? What's Ollie Bradley-Baker? Oliver Bradley-Baker got to say? Hyphen. So the black and white. So Codge comes to you. Had you heard the Codge at the time? Or briefly around? Yeah.
I'd heard Blue Notes.
Right answer.
And I'd seen how it was filmed.
Yeah.
As well.
Oh, really?
With the drone.
Oh,
Handheld drone, which I love a bit of that.
So you're aware at the time,
but
not much else.
like
and then
I'd seen that
and you pitched for the idea, but in the
yeah.
brief it was like black and white.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts? Because it started with a reminder, so you get the track, you get the brief, you know a bit about the artist. I'm just intrigued how you unpicked that and how you prepped it in response.
But I think when I heard the track, that was a big thing for me at the beginning, because I was like, I'd worked with Kof a lot and had seen a lot of other people coming out of the Liverpool scene, but it wasn't really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, and I was like,
this is a vibe.
Yeah, this is much more interesting than like most tracks I get
Throwing
sent.
shots, all these shots. No, but I get
And
that.
just
I
something
get that, I
new,
get
something
that.
different,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is like,
yeah.
you don't, I just don't think you always come across it. Like,
No, I
so
get
much
that.
music out there
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think on the visual side, it's like, it's not a challenge to find interesting tracks, but you have music you listen to, and you have music you want to make visuals to, right?
Yeah.
And like, sometimes you hear a track and you're like, oh, I wish I got a chance to make a visual for that. And when I heard that, I was like,
Oh, that's nice.
that's one of them.
That's nice. And then you were tasked with the video, but you're also tasked with like the initial press shots
Yeah.
and the EPK of him actually you explaining the new sound and you were I'm Codge, this type of artist, this is what I represent. So
Yeah.
in terms of you managed to pull out this like wonderful classic hip hop looking thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't the obvious. Oh, there's a live building. It must be from Liverpool or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It could have been
Yeah, I think
Berlin. It could have been New
thankfully-
York.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about that? You pick some like in
Yeah,
that video. There's a
crazy
lot of iconic
locations. Yeah.
shots at the beginning. The docks and the, you know what I mean. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we wanted to use Liverpool, but we didn't want it to be like you say, live.
Yeah.
I feel like in every intro to Liverpool video you see, it's like a drone shot going around the live building, and it was like doesn't
outside the LFC.
Yeah.
Waiting for
Or
a Scouse
Anfield,
rapper
like,
to appear.
in like a gold Lamborghini or something. And we were like, it's not going to be that vibe. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think those locations are just so amazing, and they have a feel that, like, I remember actually listening to the track, walking up past like Vessel Studios, and just thinking it kind of like
This is where
it matches.
Yeah,
So then when I put the pitch in, I was like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Like literally where I heard it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Like,
and it works.
Coincidence, maybe, but like-
and it works so
yeah,
well.
and the red brick and stuff, which you don't see because it's black and white, but like,
the texture.
yeah, it just worked.
And then we had, I remember one of the strongest shot, I think the third verse was on top of the crates, the baseball bat.
Yeah. Where is that now? By
That's-
that Baltic area.
Yeah, that's down it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And to be fair, I
Because
think
it reminded me of like, a 90s hip hop, Naughty by Nature, Tretch and the baseball bat. It was like
Yeah.
very rebellion, but like in a respectful way, quite obvious rebellious thing. And it linked to the press shot where you have the
bat.
baseball bat.
Well, but there's them press shots, but there was also the social clips as well, wasn't
Yeah,
there? Like
yeah,
them
And
initial
the
things.
EPK as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
like-
Which was, but I think there's one of the social clips that's very much like, because I'm running around with the bat on me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
these things and all that. So yeah, like you say, it's just, I think like getting across that working class sort of, I guess like a Scouse energy and a mentality of like, this is who we are and this is what we stand for, without saying all that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
How did you? How was it taken? How did people take that? Because that obviously you released the record in the March. You done the One Extra Touchdown tour, and it was this whole campaign track list, playlist on a One Extra. Visuals come out, numbers were crazy.
Yeah.
But from you, like, what were people saying about that as the kind of first visual from? You'd been gone for what, 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah, but
releasing
two, 2 years. It's 2.5 years this year. I guess like multiple things happened at once, because there's this element of they haven't really seen me have the proper music video yet, which is kind of what everyone wants, right? I don't want if you got like a favorite local artist or whatever, do you want to see the sick visual, right? And then there was also this thing. I remember we'd have conversations where it was like, what do you want to do with this year? And I wanted to turn the question of like, are you still doing your music thing to when's the next track out, or I've seen the last visual and these things. And when those clips started to come out, people were just coming to me like, oh, this is it now. This is what we've been saying for years. You've got to go and you've got to blow, and you just think, this is it now. It's happening. Like, this is what we've been. Honestly, straight away, bang. But that question still hadn't changed. I was still bumping into people. Still doing your little music thing. Oh yeah, I seen that clip and bum to that. And sort of by the next
Romance Tale.
by the next run of visuals, I didn't even notice, but that question had changed.
Okay, let's get into that Romance Tale at Home. Obviously quite a powerful record and what it represented. 3 different verses, themed. slightly different, produced by Joe Buda and Bakes. The visual idea was actually the second visual idea. The first visual idea was a kidnap, was it?
Oh,
Was
the
that a
one,
Roman's
the one me and
Tale?
Gully, the one me and Gully went up. Yeah. So it's like almost like a kind of live a longer day in the life
Of a villain.
with the tune, right, on a roadman.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, yeah.
We won't get into it, but I'm just saying.
Can't
And
remember.
then, you know, it ended up being an announcement piece of content, and then a piece of content for each verse.
Each verse, yeah, because each verse is quite.
Done by a different person.
Yeah.
So we'll get to Ollie's one. Ollie done first one and set the tone. But do you want to talk a little bit about like that approach, who you got in, what they focused on in terms of theme?
Well, yeah, I guess again, it's like a multi-pronged approach where it's like, how can we tell the story of each verse visually? Because they are quite different, although it's one family. You know, it's like 3 different cousins or something, right? But then also, you know, I'm always massive on like working with local talent, collaborating, employing local talent. So it was like, right, what I think did we basically put out for directors to pitch for what verse they wanted to direct?
I'll have to ask
That's
Ollie.
how
Is that
I
how
remember
is that
it.
your-
Yeah.
So which again is like it's ideal, isn't it? Really, because you've got these 3 different energies that you need to create, and then you've got people going, well, I could. Here's what I'm pitching, and then we were able to pluck and go, oh, I tell you what, I love that. I love that for that, and you know what I mean? Sort of jockey that around.
Okay, with that, let's talk about the first initial single announcement,
Yes.
because there's a message in that.
Yeah. In front of the rubble and everything.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well,
And talk about the audio that played over it, because I thought that was quite interesting.
okay. So for the start, it's like it was near where I grew up, where we filmed that. So it's like it was literally home to me. But it was like a gaff that had just been smashed to bits, hadn't it?
A gaff, for those people who aren't from Liverpool, means a home, a place, place of domicile.
And it was just, yeah, it was like, I think the foundations had been relaid, but there was still a lot of rubble there. There's still a lot of garbage there. There's all weeds growing up out the thing. There was almost like some like rose out the concrete looking stuff, weren't it? Like some nice sort of garden weeds in short. But yeah, just
Why do you look at T? T don't incriminate T on anything like that. T's like, he's accomplice.
no garden weeds were harmed in the making of this video. So yeah, and just like, yeah, as I say, like this kind of what's home to you, you know, where am I stuck, but also like the kind of the building element of which a reminder had as well. So it's like
So
the
it
docks and
connected to that. Yeah.
sort of that kind of thing. And the African dad, we call him, don't we?
Big up, Jonathan.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm getting to the point where Ollie's got this. That's a long time ago, that for me now. Like, I can't really remember fully how
But it was
that
like
came
in
about.
place. It's time to go back home. You're standing in
and
this
that-
like decayed, broken down
And that was
home
actually
thing.
on the end of product, wasn't
Yeah,
it, to
yeah.
lead into Roman? But then we just
yeah.
pulled that out. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Whose idea was that?
It's probably yours because you're a genius. But you know what I mean? That set the tone, and then first verse, Ollie steps up and does the first verse. So he probably had the tallest task of all 3, because it was like he had to do like the more literal first verse is home, Wavertree, me, Roman, the street. So talk about your approach, your little GTA, little aspects in there and everything.
Yeah, we did what's it called?
What is it called?
What is it
Snorri
called?
cam? Snorri cam?
Snorri cam.
Yeah.
But you made it.
DIY
You
story
made it.
cam, made it
Oh,
in my bedroom the night before. Yeah,
that killed me ribcage.
killed
that.
it. Yeah, like a metal cage round. Yeah,
And what does that
Yeah.
give? What, you know,
It
as a technique?
It is literally like you say, third person point of view. But we used it on the front and back.
Ambach.
Yeah. So we had this like, I think when I heard it, there was 2 things. I think the first thing was how strong the intro beats were.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like every time I hear you say it, it's still like, in my head.
It's like
fully.
a superhero thing
Yeah.
going on.
And then when it drops as well, like
gives me
there's so many
superhero.
like visual points to cut. And then the second thing with the cam was that it's like attached to you. So as you're moving through in the space, everything else is kind of like moving around you.
Oh yeah,
which
it's like looks quite quick as well. doesn't
yeah, where like if you use like a tripod or another type of cam, you don't get that.
Yeah.
like immersement
Yeah.
in your world.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as I heard that and was listening to the lyrics, I was like, feels like it needs to be like attached physically
So
to you.
what about those drone shots as well? Though,
Yeah,
because
the
they added
drones,
like
the spin.
another
Yeah.
dimension again, didn't they?
I think they came.
And if anyone watches the visualizers pretty much the drone shots. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
No, but there's a lot of story cam now on the visual.
Yeah, a lot as well,
you
yeah.
let me think then.
Well, as you should know. That's good.
No, but not only that, don't
Correct me. I don't feel offended
what I
at all.
love about this video and the visualizer is that it means something different to different people. So, like, for me, one of the first things what my brethren said to me was like, it's funny because all these rappers talk about gang, gang, gang and all this stuff, but really, the fact of the matter is, like, it's just you most of the time. And he's like, that's why I love the visualizer, because it's just you on your own, cutting about the ends,
Walking
doing what you
around.
do
Yeah.
every day, right? And like,
Yeah.
I had my take on it, like, I'm looking for new punters or whatever. And then he's like, oh, nah, you're sniffing out crops. So it's like, it's that thing of, it literally, like, you can take that visual and relate it to your own life in your own way. If you're a typical roadman. Do you know what I mean?
For us non-roadmen, we were like, oh, it's good walking around L7.
Yeah,
Looking a bit lost.
must be looking for a friend, yeah. But really, I was looking for crops.
No, that's great. And I think Ollie, you smashed it. And then verse 2 and verse 3, do you want to touch on those visuals?
Yeah, so verse 2 was obviously like the sort of family perspective and like family and friends, sort of the people you choose to be around or whatever. And so the idea was to basically bring the community together.
Tribe,
which again rolls into a next thing, doesn't it, eventually, but bring the whole community together and showcase some of the creatives that laid the foundations of the scene that we're all into.
Yeah, you had a broad selection actually as well, because you had like Mr. Green, you had TL, you had Nicky Blaze, you had Janice Myers, you had Amy Dash.
Carry on going.
There's a lot of mates and
Akaya,
stuff.
the boxer.
Yeah,
'Cause
Menelech.
you
Yeah,
meet
there's quite. There's
some local lads from the thing, and yeah, like you say, Menelech has been instrumental in the early foundations of my career. So it's all these different people who've almost had a hand one way or another.
And that was the one shot pull back.
Yeah.
So it starts with you, and then you pull back and see everyone doing it.
Little Zion's in that one,
Zion,
as well, yeah.
my boy Zion's in, and then the picture. But even that video, that was turn your phone, which people found really interesting.
Yeah, again, just different angles. But yeah, I think.
Oh, the other one is there's an alternative one, which was the everyone doing your lyrics.
Oh yeah. Oh my god! And you know what?
Yeah,
you know what's
that was
funny?
good.
I
Yeah.
loved the pull-out one. Like, I've never seen nothing like that before. I was like, holy shit, I'm a movie star. But that split screen one, the people them loved that.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's
loved
that quick
that. Like,
cut thing, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's
yeah, but more than I ever knew. Like, I like that one. I enjoy watching that one. But like the way people went for that one was sick. Like, it was sick. Yeah.
And then third verse was, and that was Nikki and Rebecca, Nikki Dyer and Rebecca Oliver.
Oh, was the second
Yeah,
verse,
who done the
wasn't it?
second verse. Third verse, Kieran.
Keeks, yeah.
And a slightly different approach, which was like homeless and heritage. So you shot that in yours, didn't you? Or was it there? No,
we
it
shot it in
weren't.
theirs.
In there,
Funnily
yeah,
enough,
okay,
yeah, we shot it in Kieran and Nee's house. But I had the Lion of Judah flag, and I had these. But he gripped a couple of Ghana bits and all that as well. So it was like a kind of, again, a collaborative effort. And we had sort of like the reflection shot, the mirror, and then the mirror smashes and all that.
Which is another thing that in each video there's reflection.
Yeah, and to be honest, we've smashed a couple of them. I've got about
Quite a few. Yeah.
21 years of bad luck on me under me
Especially
belt.
since we had to do it about 10 times each time.
There's a lot of, but a lot of reflection. So each, okay, so campaign wise, you must have felt good after you kind of, and you had the little remix. T started getting into some horns and some sound system stuff.
Well, do you know what
Let me
what was so good about that was, like, I love the old school, right? And that's what we keep referring to classic and whatever. And when the remix come about, I remember, and this is what I love about you, you know, bro. Yeah, I'll just be chilling in mine, playing the game, doing some stupid shit, and you text me and you was like, bro, like, can you?
Is this how you hear him when he messages?
No, but,
Is this how you read his messages?
But he also speaks like this, so I do read in his voice, and
a lot
he's
of
like,
pauses, isn't it?
do you think you could maybe, like he doesn't want to piss me off. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm not pissed off at you, man.
He's just very measured. It's very measured.
But you basically asked me, like, can I do a few little, remix and all that? And I was like, okay, cool. So in my head, I've gone, what I'm going to do is in this voice note, I'm going to basically give you too much so you can use whatever you want. I just thought you'd place one here, place one there. You ended up using nearly all of them because I'd done different vibes and different styles, but then you got the artist from Blessed to Mace, there's a bit of a different vibe. From them two to Bems, there's a completely different vibe. So it's almost like you use my ad-libs and my call-out to take them through the lad, I loved it. I loved that. That was
what was that like? Because that was fully remote. You know, all the verses were sent remotely, including Codger's verse. It was a very quick turnaround.
It was really, I just remember that one being fun. I don't remember the EP being fun. That was, but I remember the remix.
I don't remember the EP being fun.
No, but the remix was really fun just because it was like I miss the days of proper remixes. And so it was just an opportunity to do that and to just have fun with it and like really make it feel very like sound clashy, really make it feel very like, just old school. The stuff that I grew up on. So it was fun. It was fun.
Nice. And then Love, Money, Drugs. The massive departure, the massive before everything's so ultra real. Yeah. And then here comes the video. I remember I first seen a bit. I was away. I was out the country, and I seen a snippet from when you were shooting, and I was like, "Wow, this is different." And I remember thinking, "Oh, I hope Codge doesn't have one of his Codge meltdowns, worrying about what people will think." So, do you want to talk a little bit about the idea, and then we'll go to Ollie about how he actually kind of really turned that around, because there's some shots in that as well, the fall and all that. Were like,
yeah. You
Michael
were
Jackson
in your bag that day. It's funny, really, because I feel like this is the song that probably created the most in-house divide out of all of them. Visually, probably more than anything, because I think like what we did was pretty brave. And I guess through clips and stills and stuff before the video was edited, whenever I'd show anyone anything, as you do, everyone was like, "Why are you looking like a Alki from the 50s?" But I think to translate that sort of the rise and fall, I guess it was, and it sort of serves as the visual of what might have been, what could have been if I didn't sort my act out.
And that is immense power, but a big fall from grace. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think what I like about it is that when you live in certain things, like lives I've lived in the past, if you like, and it's the things that I'm sort of can be ashamed of now, or I wish I'd have handled differently. In the moment, it can feel very powerful, and there's a lot of instant gratification that you get through that, which I feel like you absolutely see in that visual, you know, without having obvious stuff waved in your face, right? Yeah.
And then, the fall.
I remember having a meltdown, though.
Oh, did you?
I remember having a meltdown. I had a meltdown the day before. I felt like we weren't prepared and that. I didn't feel like I knew what I was...
Did you hear about this?
I didn't. I felt very prepared.
I actually remember after that
We're going to
day,
shout out Latoya as well. Latoya
big up
this
Latoya
one.
all day long. But I remember after that day, I was like, right, I trust Ollie fully, because when I left mine...
See how long it takes for him to...
get
three projects in, and then he's like, I finally trust you.
I've been through a lot, man. But it was like I just felt underprepared. I knew it was going to be quite acting heavy. I'd never really done that before, so I was a little bit anxious and nervous. But yeah, like it come out well better. Even on the day when we were shooting, I was thinking, okay, I can relax. This feels like it's going well, but it come out well better than I even imagined it to.
Nice. You know, I'm just glad that intro is on it, because when I heard Nen that you weren't going to have the instrumental at the beginning, and like out of the whole of the video, that's like, I'm like, I love that part so much. Like,
but visually, I love that part.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If that wasn't in, like, all of that would have been lost. Like,
oh, that's amazing, because you don't really think of it like that. It's like, is there enough for you to visually represent there? Is there enough?
I can't imagine like the story as well if it just came in.
That's interesting.
Like the whole 30 seconds builds it up. and then it
That's really
starts.
interesting.
It is
But-
weird as well because the tune was quite different, but it weren't that different.
No.
But it's
was it?
interesting to see what someone who's going to visually represent it, how they can hook onto that thing,
Yeah.
which I find that really
Yeah,
interesting. But
'cause
yeah,
I think when I first heard it as well, like I thought, like 30 seconds is quite a long time to not have like any lyrics in it. Because like most songs
Performance
now,
part,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
10 second or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
8 seconds. You know, when you're in,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we need to do something like special in this part.
And that falling shot that Yaw keeps referencing, what? How did you come up with that? 'Cause that was my idea.
How did you do
that's
it?
purely you.
Yeah, I don't know.
And was that representing the fall? Is
Yeah,
that what
we were trying to, because I remember we had like the distinct scenes, right? We had the alcoholic,
Yes.
the hotel,
Boss me, yeah.
and then
the boss has
Carman.
beard.
Yeah. And then I think for the 30 seconds, we didn't want to give all of that away. Because when I first pitched it, I think, or Latoya pitched it and I came back and said, like, we want to have like snippets of each of those segments. So then it was trying to think how to do that without showing everything from the next 3 minutes of video. So yeah, it was just, I think I was literally just penciling like a whole load of ideas, like the drone shot coming up, the fall, throwing the bottle, and then we just did all of them basically
massive.
and like montaged it. Yeah.
And the video, the only one shot in a different city, that was shot in
Yeah.
Manchester.
Yeah. In is it Ancoats or
Ancoats.
Ancoats? Yeah.
And again, but finding those kind of beautiful, you know, those buildings. Like I think there's where the cars going down the street at the beginning. It's like again, that could be in New York. That could
Yeah,
be
even
in
more
Liverpool.
so
That could
than
be
Liverpool.
in, you know what
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Paris. It could
Yeah.
be, and that's quite interesting. And that kind of, you know, you got to dress up,
Yeah.
wardrobe. Shout
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Vinny, I assume Vinny with the
Vinny,
styling on it.
Vinny with the Italian linen suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I remember Latoya actually going, because we filmed, it was like a 2-day shoot, innit?
Yeah.
So we got there and I stayed in the hotel that we filmed in. So I think we did this, we did the
Full.
alcoholic
Yeah,
clips first.
Yeah.
Because you had to look.
Yeah, so I'd
Yeah,
grown
you
all
did.
my face
Yeah.
hair out and everything. And then I scurried off for the haircut. You went to find a scan gaff, didn't you? I scurried off for the haircut.
Scran, by the way, means food. For
And gaff is
we talked about gaff earlier. Okay. Place of domicile.
So then gets back to the hotel after we'd all had a quick bite to eat, filming again. And then so there's the next day the car was coming. It was time for me to be bossy in it. And I remember Latoya being like, you're going to have to give me like boss man, arrogant, arsehole energy. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to do this? And she was like, yeah, it's what we need. It's what we need. By the end of the day, she was like, that man, this guy's an arsehole. But I enjoyed that, man. I enjoyed that. Wicked villainy.
So great, another great one. After that, Ollie, did you think, I'm surely done now? Or did you know more
I
was
think you were
coming?
already speaking about the next
The
one
next one.
beforehand. Like,
I got this idea, right?
So what was that? Cinterlude before Product? Cinterlude was shot before Product, wasn't it?
Cinterlude was early, wasn't it?
Yeah,
'Cause it came
Cinterlude,
out.
Cinterlude was shot before Product, but it
after,
came out
yeah.
last.
Yeah.
So Cinterlude,
And that was
Is it-
mixing
is-
it up again, wasn't it? 'Cause that was our first studio
shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was
you want to talk about because Cinterlude was acting at the next level because it was not acting with everything around you; it's acting with nothing around you.
yeah, and it's like everything was based off the emotion running through me, wasn't it? So it's like, to be honest with you, it was humbling, that experience, because when you're acting, you feel like you're smashing it.
And then you look at the playback and you're like, "There's no emotion."
There's nothing. I wasn't given nothing. Do you know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck? And obviously you're limited on time, all these things.
Yeah.
So it was like, but it was good. I had a lot of, well, I don't know if I'd call it fun,
I am taking my co-directorial debut on that one. No, it's not my debut.
but
That was
but you can take it.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But no, yeah, it was good, man. And I think again, it just added another string to my bow. It gave me more experience, it gave me more confidence. But I think like it really is. It's quite a brutal. What for the first half of it, at least, it's
Well, that
pretty
first bit
intense.
is like right on your face. You get shot, Bally, get shot on the floor, bleeding out.
Yeah.
leaking, scared.
Ollie brings in a makeup artist to do the bullet wounds, like the
bullet wound.
detail
Yeah.
and the blood coming flowing out of you.
Yeah.
But it's in black and white.
Yeah.
And even the light that give the police siren.
Yeah.
But it's in black and white. Well, did you put
No,
colour on the
colour.
end? You put
Yeah,
colour
yeah,
on the
yeah.
end. But
We had that whole thing about it's just like American police.
Oh,
lights.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's rather.
but you know what I love about that?
I'm a Brit.
Do you know what I love about that? Is like that focus on detail. So that first verse, and then second verse is, you know, real rifle.
Yeah.
Shooting yourself in the head, which is like, a lot of people might be like, fucking hell, that's quite heavy.
To be honest, even when that was in the treatment and everything and the thing, I even felt like that was quite heavy. Do you know what I mean? And I'm always a bit like, you know, I don't mind fucking ruffling a few feathers, but like, I don't want to give anyone PTSD triggers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a bit like thing, but yeah, like I'm glad we went for it.
And then the third verse of kind of you holding yourself down, coming up and then, you know, going through the, you know, lighting up and listening to the record, which kind of followed your musical idea. First of all, I want to ask you, how does that feel to see it kind of that much stuck in terms of the emotion and the story stuck to that much in the visual? Because you kind of come up with that idea of how it would go and how it would lift and all that.
Sick, because I think it's it becomes like you have a vision in your head and you put something down and you know, it's art, so not everybody takes it in the same way. But it was just sick to be like, oh, actually, you guys have seen it in the same way that I've seen it. Great work. I've done a good job here.
Teamwork. Without all the stress of making it. Ollie, who had the stress of making it. Yeah. So can you talk about that one? Because again, different, that directing Codge in that kind of
Very different.
A white room, essentially, very little props.
Yeah. Pretty.
What was that like
back.
from a directorial standpoint as well?
I think it went pretty well. yeah, like I think.
And longer shots, because it was
much
like, it was
longer
not the
shots,
idea
yeah,
of like cut.
No, so different. But I think what was really nice for me in that one is like, obviously in the first two were like super performance heavy. And I think that was something you were like comfortable with from the first. Like, I think you were looking at me in the first on a reminder being like, do you want me to perform looking at the camera on the floor? And you're like, okay, get it. Like, and Roadman's Tale was like that. Then we had like the acting, but that again, like you said, wasn't in isolation. Where this one, it was like really just framing and lighting you, and you had to sustain the performance from like rolling till cut. And those takes were like 40, 40
I'm
sure
seconds.
I was sick as a dog. Was I sick that day?
You're always sick. You're always sick when you needed to be really on top form. But you know what I thought was quite interesting about it was like the long shots were there to make sure the viewer couldn't hide. So, you know, when things are cut, sometimes you feel like it's not real. But wait, sometimes you have a long shot. I grew up on like a lot of Spike Lee stuff, so we'd always have these long shots, and it's almost like you're there if it's interesting. It puts more pressure on the protagonist.
Yeah. But you held like the intensity throughout, I think, which was like,
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah, good to see.
As I say, when I watch it back, I go, oh, well, I'm not going to that, but
I hope people get into like the costume changes as well, like the robe man, and then later on when you're beaten up, and then the suit, the funeral suit before you shoot yourself in the head.
We left nothing down to. Do you know what some people do, right? So I've got like big up me.
Why are you wearing a suit?
Big up me young brother SM. Because there's things he noticed about like the villain video, which I'll refer back to once we get back to. But straight away he goes, and he notices things straight away, all the detail. Now, there's lots of people that kind of are just a bit more passive watchers. But I think them details are so important. This is what this whole process has taught me, really. Like, those details are so important for even people who don't really have an eye for detail. Because the subconscious consumes it all.
So like the military pants, when you fight back and you're topless, and then to go from that, and it's like that slide. See, I'd love to know how you actually do it. Where he goes from getting off the floor and he's beaten and bruised with all the obviously with the makeup of the bruises, and he's wearing his military pants. And you get up, and then you walk, and then you go into that like white linen suit when he sits down. And then he smokes, and then a little window on the back. A couple of people have said that to me. It's like, that's genius.
Yeah.
But they just love it.
Blinds,
but why did he love it so much? And
the simplicity of the, a vinyl player and then putting on Nee Maxine while you smoke, and it's like
that window,
the detail
is box office though. Like people love the window. Like it's like.
I think that's a great thing about a studio now, because like every scene in that video was lit for the feel of the music. When we're outside running about, like we find the locations, but you can't
control that.
control it that much.
Yeah.
Like where that one we had like
Full control.
full control. So like all the transitions were like, because I think Zion was pre-programming the lights.
Yeah,
He was doing the sliders and like coming up and down.
Still waiting for the invoice. From
Yeah,
the boys.
yeah.
I'm sure it'll come.
Which was just, I think added something which you see in like some higher end videos, but something we hadn't really like looked at before.
Well, that's what I've got to, especially you, Ollie. It's like you bring in quality at affordable rate. This is not an advert for Ollie. Ollie's still got a lot of work to do on different things, but like, you know, again, like just
trying to make the most of it, aren't we? Like,
well, the small thing like the blinds
yeah.
adds so much production value,
Yeah.
but it's not a massive cost. Do you know what I mean? But it just adds that. If that was a plain wall, yeah, people would have been like, "Oh, it's great, God, you do." But that thing just adds something for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's all those like little, like you said, with the music and the visuals, but like the little details visually as well, like the blinds, you know, like even like little close-ups that you're like, oh, should I get it? Should I not? And
Yeah,
we always do.
Get it. yeah. No,
So, like-
but I love that though, because it's like you're on the exact same frequency as me and him, even though all of our jobs are like wildly different. Okay, me and you can relate a bit more. I can't relate to this job at all. But the fact that
But he loves it. He's a geek on it, isn't he?
yeah, and like,
You know, but that's what I'm saying.
and it's the
Yeah,
intensity,
yeah.
and it's like you don't really like. I'm one of them. I'm come from a sports background, so like I literally want to crush me competition, and you don't give me that energy. But your work does. Your work gives me like I want to end other films.
Ollie's a samurai, so he will smile and he'll slice your head off and sit
And then he'll
down
say
and
the
eat a
prayer.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No, that's T. T will sit down and say a prayer. after he's done it. So Villain with a Conscience, which was because we're gonna try to touch on a bit of live in a sec, and we got to touch on product all in 15 minutes, but we'll get there. But Villain with a Conscience video was like the apex of it all, because essentially not only was it a video for the title record, which was like the emotional center of the project and everything kind of sprung back out from there, but the ambition was that it kind of had a reference to every song in it, but with Villain with the Conscience obviously being the main one.
Yeah.
And that there was loads of these visual Easter eggs. Where do you want to start with it? And then we'll go to Ollie and then...
Well, I think for the start, like, you know, the ambition was also to create something that's never come out of this city before, ever. You know, and I think we've done that throughout the campaign. But this is like blatantly obvious. Nobody can turn around and go, oh yeah, I did that in 2001, you never. Right? Again, quite challenging on the acting side of things, but I'd already had the experience with Sinterlude, which is
It was like it was preset that you'd warm up
yeah,
to Villain.
yeah, no, perfect. And yeah, I just think like
Even though you struggled with the scream. Like the scream really broke you, didn't it?
I've got so many takes of that.
don't tell everyone. You just cut that out. No, but yeah, just to kind of like have the movie style aesthetic and do something really ambitious and really courageous. And I was quite worried. I'll be transparent. I was quite worried that it wasn't gonna come out 10 out of 10 because of how ambitious it was. But fucking hell.
Okay, let's talk about it. So first scene, from a viewer standpoint, car pulls up. You're talking about doing something with Menelech. But you don't know what. The viewer does not see it, but sees you then after that in maximum distress. And then you turn to the church.
Also, so this was the detail SM noticed straight away. So I put the video on, check this comes out next week, whatever. And he's like, I've just clocked the hesitation in your voice there. So straight away, he's picking up on the energy of like
that you're worried about something.
that
That
I'm
you're
worried
hesitant.
about something, and it's like, but I'll do it. I'm a man of my word. I'll do the thing. But now I'm here and I'm at the door. I'm
Villain with a
thinking,
Conscience.
Villain with a Conscience, right? And then so then there's the sort of like the aftermath.
And then it snaps off.
yeah, aftermath right away.
But also the car and the dress is a reflection of a reminder video.
Yeah, a reminder because the car shots and
You're
also,
listening to in the car.
continue shots, A Romance Tale at Home. Yeah. So there's all
And to be more specific, maybe the remix. I don't know.
no.
That was the original. It was the
Yeah,
original.
first verse. It is second half of the first verse. So
just trying to be
or
extra
second
slick.
third of the first verse. Yeah. So then aftermath, the scream, the coveted scream, and then we get into a bit of performance shotsy type stuff, isn't it?
Is it the run? Did we have the run?
The runs
Judy Ali?
The
before
runs
before the
before the scream, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
sorry,
running
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, what have I done? And then it's like almost like a begging for repentance, isn't it? Because it's like you got the shots of me kind of looking at the church. I'm almost like preemptive, or anyway, I'm sort of like, should I go? Should I not go? And then you got them shots. It runs into the chat with Basil, who's genuinely an ordained pastor, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he's also just one of the boys.
And the Basil line
The Basil line
is from Sinterlude.
Sinterlude, yeah.
A good,
Too many mistakes for me.
a good friend of mine.
Talent will get you there, but character will keep you there. He literally told me that in a mentor session. Like
And
that.
it was, when you wrote that line in Sinterlude, it was Basil that you were talking about.
It was Basil I was talking about. And he literally, when he said that quote to me, like he didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't really know what it was going to be.
I remember hearing that track and going, is that Basil? You know what I mean? I was like, proper like, yeah, it's Basil.
Yeah, so like kind of and again, just like the getting across the point of who I am, isn't it? It's like, I believe in God and I want to repent for my sins, but I also have this pretty big ego and a lot of pride. And I don't really like change. There's all these little details about my personality that if we could sit for the podcast and talk about me, we'd get through all of them. Yeah. But we've got to try and do that through this video, right? And I think like that video definitely through me demeanor and through even the angle of the shots, like you can absorb all that.
And then you walk in a church in Wavertree.
In Wavertree, yeah.
And you walk to the altar, isn't it, Ollie? That's correct.
In the choir?
On the choir, and then levitation.
Yeah.
Floaty
Go
boy.
on, Ollie, that's
Bit
over
of
to you
everything.
now,
A
isn't
bit
it?
of everything.
That's over to you.
Yeah. Well, I think this was a really interesting one because, again, I think you had any initials.
A little idea. I'll just,
Yeah,
what it was is I knew from hearing that song. There was 2 songs on it that I was like, I want to kind of conceptualize. And one was actually Product, which I seen in a church, right? So Product to me was confessional of him confessing, is honest, this is the thing. Not the memeable, easy, like roadman thing. I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. I'm saying like people get that character. Product was the confessional. So I always see him walking in a church and confessing, right? So I wanted that to be the thing. But then when it was like villain's going to be the one leading into the thing, I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And me and Latoya were going back and forth and she kind of fleshed out this idea and it was all in a church. But I was like, it needs more arc, it needs more sort of, hence the earlier things. And I kind of agonized over getting like the Easter eggs in and building in. Let's get everything referenced in some way. Let's get the quotes in because you put the quotes on your grid, these little quotes, and it was like this one was about burning things to ash and starting again, and then Basil adding that into his, because Basil freestyled that wasn't scripted. What Basil
that was the first shot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we just did it.
So just all that element, but trying to make sure it always fit. And so the church thing was massive, and obviously when I went to Ollie, as Ollie does, which is wonderful, is like, okay, cool, let's make this happen. And I suppose the bigger one was like, we need to make him levitate, which I've seen you do something like that. I feel like there was something I've seen you do. And one of the references was Kendrick Lamar. I think one of the, in ages at the very beginning when we were talking about stuff. So do you want to talk about that and kind of like the choir and how the choir lift them? And also, like people probably don't realize there's a lot of real audio in it.
Yeah,
so
the choir is live.
It's not all like, it's live audio.
Well, the choir's live, the car's live, and we chat with Basil's live. They're all live.
Yeah. Scream.
The scream.
But yeah, I think that was what was so amazing about this video is for the first time, we weren't thinking of it as like a 3-minute thing in one. We were like thinking of all these little scenes. And I think that's where like you said, the detail comes in again, because we put so much detail. It's like 5 little music videos in that one music video, which I think making is such a nice way I kind of wish I'd done all of them like it now, but like to be able to split the scenes up and just focus on getting it right for each segment was like,
even small things like the walk into the church. I think the Amala product chorus was on while you walked to the church, and then we used another part of it, the intro that wasn't Amala on product. That first little bit,
that was in there
Iona
as
D
well.
or whatever. Like that's in it as well. So there's these little things sprinkled out, and he's
But then
obviously you've had to
the edit was what was tricky.
Even to the point,
Yeah,
though,
it was easy on paper to write it and send it to you.
let's not brush over my courageousness. There was a point where I had to jump in the sea.
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah, we're
there?
gonna get to that, but let's talk about levitation because
Yeah.
I think the levitation thing is because again, it's just like it's just like T when he adds a little extra little audio, little singing bit in it. It's very subtle, but it's
But
quite powerful.
power, yeah.
Yeah, and we had to get it all pre-planned as well because I think we had an choir performing live in the back with you in it,
yeah.
then
Yes.
without you
Yeah.
in it, and then we did a little bit of green screen.
Yeah, and there was
Don't wanna give
even we had
away.
the choir sort of when they weren't performing. There was some sort of shots of me and
I
them as well.
love that
together.
shot. Again, a little bit of Golden Park's style with the choir, but
Yeah.
I know he's done it with like the nuns or whatever. But then Kendrick Lamar referenced it in Humble video where I think he looks up and it's like so you had that shot where you're standing there and nobody's
In the
singing
middle.
and it's
Yeah,
silence
yeah.
and it's like powerful stuff. But the levitation, man, it was like that to me. You know what would you say musically is it kind of illustrates not a chord change, but it's like flipping the vocal thing, and it's like they're singing like the angels are lifting you. Like, come on, Ollie, man. Because I didn't think Ollie was gonna do it. It was like 'cause it didn't happen on the day.
No.
And then after the water scene, which we'll talk about in a sec, I was like, Ollie ain't gonna do this thing. Ollie's done, man. Ollie's
And
done with
next
this
day
whole
I-
thing.
Never mind,
Until,
Ollie's
like-
done. I was finished.
Go on, talk about it because
The
you want
water.
to.
So the shoot ended up going on longer than we'd expected. Didn't it?
Like
So
every shoot in the world, obviously.
So by the time it was
Like this podcast.
time to go in the water,
It's about 10 o'clock,
it was nighttime, and there was the
It might have been later,
the question
and it
of,
was
I was
freezing.
tired. Everyone was starving. It was
Yeah.
freezing.
Yeah.
Because it was still like December or something. Wasn't it? It was something mad anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And we had the option. It was like, okay, we can go to a closer location where there's water, but then it won't have the shot that mirrors a reminder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
And I
is
was
the
like-
very first visual reference point in the music video was the docks. So this was shot on the other side of the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. So we
with
went
the
all that
same-
way, didn't we? We went on the mission.
Just
And I got, and I got soaked 3 times. It should have been twice. It was 3 times because the first time I fell in, you weren't filming it properly or something. But that's the shot he ended up using anyway.
And it started raining. Let's
And
bear
it
in
started
mind.
raining,
Yeah, it
yeah.
started
Oh,
raining.
yeah,
And then
your
Ollie,
camera
yeah.
and then Ollie had to
camera.
get in. Remember, you had to go in,
in
with
the
it as well.
water,
It was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, you had
Yeah, I
your
was in
socks and
like my
shoes
flip-flops,
on,
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, that was crazy.
in my pants.
That was crazy, and I just remember. I remember that was the point as well because Menelek's been alongside us doing various works through these campaigns, and I remember that was the moment he was like, "This guy's a different beast." Like,
I remember him turning
I'm
to me.
never gonna
He
question.
turned to me and said, and he's like, because Menelek, Menelek's a great litmus test of like cynicism.
Okay,
Like sometimes it's like he just doesn't really believe he's there, and he's like, "I'll cheerlead for you," but I don't really know. And this is not about you; it's about the idea.
Yeah.
Like, is this baptism and coming out? Because you go in with the black clothing and you come out with the white clothing. And the white clothing is what you use in St. Lude when you walk over and this one.
yes.
So he's like, all this is because that means you have to do it twice. You have to go in black, then you have to change to white and be underwater and come out of the water to give it the sense, and then walk out like it was the EP cover.
Yeah.
So like all the layers of this thing was, but I remember like going, yeah.
I think the only part of the entire campaign that we maybe fell a bit short on was that triumphant stance at the end. I think you can tell I've got brain freeze. So
But
Hypothermia
equally,
was a
like,
real
I
one.
feel like it's one of the problems in film, but like, it started raining. It was fucking cold, and I'm like, it looks amazing. Do it again. Like, when you start lightning, and everyone's just like, oh fucking hell, Ollie. Like,
So visually, if you had to like, I'm gonna ask you both, like sum it up, the visual aspect of it in like one quite short sentence and kind of like what it means to you, what was done and all the importance of it or the impact of it. From your stance, Codge, then you, Ollie, and then I'm gonna come to T about the live before we wrap it up.
I guess in a way, it gave me like the ultimate sense of accomplishment. And listen, there's a lot I still want to achieve. Me goals are still, high up in the distance. But like for me, flawlessly execute the campaign. We agreed on it being a black and white campaign. We stuck with that for over 12 months. We kept the level super high. We topped ourselves on each release, each campaign. For me, it couldn't have gone better, and I'm so proud of myself. Sometimes I just put it on from the order we filmed them in. So Reminder, Roadman, boom, 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 and I go through them, and I'm like, I'm gonna blow my own trumpet. I'm blown away, and I'm so proud. Yeah, that's kind of how
Ollie, from the actualizer of this idea, what?
I think the thing that's been like so amazing for me with this project is how many like different worlds we've built together. So we've done like the real world, the like surreal world, like imagined world. And I think having you existing in different states, a bit like the music, like we've seen like all sides of you in different locations, different ways. And I think it's been amazing to have the opportunity to like build each of those scenarios and like produce a video for each of them, basically. Yeah.
Wicked. That is beautiful. T, I'm going to come back to you because the other aspect, as the clock ticks, the other aspect is the live element. And I just think it's only right that we cap it up because there's been some great opportunities to take the music from the studio or from the headphones or whatever you want to say to live staging. And you've been tasked with kind of musically directing that. And, there's been multiple festivals. There's been, core gigs like Tribe that have been really, important to do for the culture. And then there's been, industry showcase stuff and all that. Can you just talk a little bit about like the importance of it translating to live, but also how that works to ensure that you don't lose any of the emotion and all that you can capture on record, I suppose, fairly easily sometimes?
I think the main thing about live is, for me, what live should be and what we're trying to create is like live is just more of what we did. And obviously I'm in a very lucky place to be able to understand the project because I did it. And so when going now into a live thing, it's like, even when we put together the idea of like, cool, what is it that we actually need? And okay, it's not a full band, but like the main thing is drums, because actually a lot of the music is already there, but what it might need is just like a bit more energy to give you. Do you know what I mean? It's knowing that like, cool, you come from a grime MC background, so you know what it's like to shout on stage. So how do we give you that energy so you don't lose any of that, but then like give you that when you need it? So like make Roadmans and make Reminder more like that, so that there's an energy of like, whoa, this is, and then when things like Sinterlude happen, we can even like strip it even more and make it like cool. Even if by somehow you listen to the song and you didn't get it, you cannot miss it now because it's so like heart-wrenching. Do you know what I mean? And so for me, taking it to live is always going to be a case of like, whatever direction it is, let's just go more. Like, it's like when we extended the, for the live show, we extended the outro of Villain with a Conscience. And we did it kind of just on vibes, but I remember the first show that we did it at, it was like that moment where it was just like drums and Cos just standing there taking everything in. It was like a goosebump moment because it was like, whoa, people have just taken in this mad song. We've been on a journey. It's been emotional. It's been high. It's been choir. And then just having like drums at the end with the lights flashing.
Strobes and all that.
It was just like, this is a like,
it was a moment,
yeah,
proper moment,
100%. So it's kind of like just taking it and just making it more whatever it is, you know?
I've got two questions to end. The first one's going to be, when people take in Villain with a Conscience, the music and the visuals, or the campaign, let's say the campaign, what do you want them to leave with? That's my first question.
I think a better understanding of me on like a sort of surface level, but like what I really do this stuff for is that I just want other people to feel inspired. Like, I always say things like this, like I didn't know I was gonna be this person. Do you know what I mean? I've always had confidence in myself, but I didn't know just how big this thing could be. But like, seriously, like I remember the moments, and you might remember yourself, like there's certain content I was consuming, whether that be through my phone or YouTube or podcasts or books I was reading. Relentless was a big book for me, but that changed my life forever. And I've seen other people talk about like what Tim Grover, by writing that book Relentless, has done to certain people. And like, not only does it make me feel good to have that impact on people, but like, I don't know if he realizes, like, he set me free for the rest of my life. I felt like I was this caged man who was, you know, shut down at every turn and you know, whatever. Anyway, I know a lot of men will feel that way. But to have the inspiration and the pat on the back and the push to go like, well, believe in what you believe in with chest, even with people that are against it, and work hard for yourself and like be excellent in everything you do and these things. That the way that changed my life, like I'd love to be able to do that to other people who've got a high potential but are not quite tapping into that. Do you know what I mean?
I hear that. And then the next question, which is the last question of the podcast, is what's next? Because obviously this project's been like, it's been a process and it's been fulfilling for all you guys as creatives, and it's moved things forward and it's raised the bar. Like, what's next?
Well, I'd say that the intro to me as a person is out there now for everybody to absorb and digest at their own rate. But now, I really want to really define our own sound that speaks to, you know, my upbringing, my soul, who I want to be. When I talk about inspiring people, but like, what's the message, right? So I think we really need to unpack and then repack that whilst defining a really unique and raw, influential sound.
And then this is a cheek question. This is like 2B. So you guys gonna all work together on the next thing? Is that a given?
Absolutely. He's never leaving. He's like that scene in Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving. Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't know when this journey started. I didn't know that you would do most of the visuals and we'd work on this relationship and this relationship would bloom the way it has. Mm-hmm. But I used to pray for this. I used to pray for this. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I was growing up and I look at it and we talk about Villain with a Conscience, the single, and I refer to that as like how do people make that tune? And now I've made one myself.
I remember actually when he come out of the studio.
Yeah, I was blown away.
He was like, I never understood how people do music like that until today.
Yeah, honestly, and again, like life-changing kit, but like the fact that we've got like we can all grow together, you know? You've got a really high standard, you've got a really high standard, you're really about your shit, you just don't fuck around, right? So it's like, serious though. So to have yous as a team, thank God, man. Thank God.